I'd like to further clarify a segment I did in the previous video. I've heard this guy's voice so many fucking times I just roll my eyes when I hear it. Who I was referring to was this guy. Now, here's the problem. This guy voices a lot of characters, which isn't exactly an issue within itself. Now, when you look at the actor's history, he voices a lot of shit. Like, a lot of shit.
1,000 pulsing maggots crawled over and into me, scouring the dead flesh from my ragged wounds.
Hey, are you the Marcus Phoenix? The one who fought at Asfield Fields?
These ghouls are mine! However you've poisoned them, I will suck it out!
So, what does that tell us? Well, it means that the person who was in charge, or whoever the fuck, didn't bother to tell this guy to perhaps change his voice range a little bit, or, you know, effectively utilizing the talent that Bethesda was working with at the time. The reason why this is a problem is because it creates this break in immersion for the player when you hear the exact same voice over and over again on different characters. So none of this really makes any sense to me. In terms of what else I said, there are indeed a lot of NPCs in the game that the player can interact with. I'm not asking for there to be 1,000 voice actors, that would honestly be a little crazy, duh. However, what I am looking for here, or at least expecting, is for the directors to understand that it can be a little bit of a problem when you hear the exact same voice from somebody who clearly has the talent, and it just gets repeated over and over again. And it isn't just from this guy, it's also from others as well. It just shows Bethesda's inability to work with the people that they managed to get, or diversify their cast at least.
Need something? Just turn around and leave the city. That's the smart move. The last person that made trouble for Vekel ended up floating in the canal. Catch my drift? You've been a good friend to me. That means something. Vilkas said you're the new Kodlak. I don't know what that means, but you seem honorable, so that's good. They don't like us talking to people when we work. Always good to see a fellow traveler. I hope you found the roads relatively safe. Free from dragons at the very least. Need a room? Talk to Delphine.
And to add on to that, while there were quite the number of voice actors, it wouldn't have hurt Bethesda to acquire perhaps a couple dozen more to diversify the cast. It's not difficult at all. Even at the time in 2011 and before that, it was pretty easy to find thousands of people online who were absolutely willing to be a part of just about everything, even for free. The online space, even at the time, was a massive pool of untapped talent. And you don't have to pay these people ridiculous amounts of money either, but I guess Bethesda can't do that. The other thing I should definitely bitch about are the glitches. I've had numerous issues with the game in my playthrough, and when I have other problems with the game that take me out of the immersion, this stuff certainly does. Normal day in Skyrim,
Yep.
Flawless game.
Have a good one.
Flawless game.
What the fuck is going on here?
Well, you see, Coyote, Skryim.
It's a great game.
It feels like the world's decided to reject itself. It feels like it's having some kind of identity crisis. You know, it doesn't know what it wants to be yet. Your feet are... What the fuck?
The game has just given up.
The crowd
It's
is
fucking
eating you.
given up.
The world is reclaiming you. You're being devoured. It's like, we want you. We want you back.
Oh no.
Return to the dirt. What the fuck happened there?
This is what happens when you steal the slab.
What is happening with... What the fuck? What the shit? Oh my god, what is wrong with this place?
I don't know what's wrong with this place, dude. There's a lot of things that are just wrong with everything.
Oh my god.
And it honestly hurts because this game has been out for ages and Bethesda has never bothered to fix these issues, instead relying on the community to, well, fix the issues themselves.
I made a mistake or two in the past video as well, primarily with the names of some of the quest givers. It was Aranel's endeavor, not Ongear, the Greybeard. Anyways, to the point I was going back in the college portion of the video. Winterhold is an uninspired shithole of environmental design that it and 3 more of the other 9 holds share. I am referring to Dawnstar, Morthal, and Falkreath. Their makeup, just like Winterhold, are just about as unique as the other generic looking towns. To ask the honest question, what do these holds even have going for them? Dawnstar has a family with former connections to the mythic Dawn cult, a mine, and is a port town. Falkreath has a graveyard, specializes in logging, and has the Dark Brotherhood sanctuary a running distance away. Morthal has a vampire problem and a mine. It's sad when the typical looking towns like Riverwood, Rorikstead, and Iverstead have more character to them over the province's other holds. To add insult to injury, I'll add Markarth to the list as well, since the fact is the hold isn't even Nordic in origin. It was Dwarven. It's the Skyrim's equivalent to Tenpenny fucking Tower because it's just some place somebody else built and you moved in after everyone was gone, cleaned the place up and called it your own. Then there's the other major holds of Skyrim. While Whiterun, Solitude, Riften, and Windhelm are each architecturally unique in design, I'll give them a pass in this regard. But these holds really aren't nothing special in terms of scale aside from, I guess, Solitude? The most egregious example would be Whiterun, with its strong outer walls that are falling apart as it is.
The outer walls are strong. The city walls are already falling apart as it is.
Excluding the vast farmlands surrounding the hold that is poorly defended with little garrisons or walls, it's divided into 3 districts, the Plains, Wind, and Cloud respectively. Aside from a city guard in Irileth, there is little that the guards do to police the citizens off different classes from the other districts. Now to talk about the Civil War in the game. I want to make it very clear to everyone that this Civil War in Skyrim is supposed to be a power struggle that decides the political landscape of not just the province, but the future of the Cyrodiilic Empire, not to mention that this conflict is one of the prophetic elements that is the cause of the dragon's return. This is even brought up in the early trailers for the game, so it should be a pretty big deal. So why oh why, aside from the opening segment and a couple missions of the main quest, and another one later on, with the occasional random encounter, there really isn't much the game goes out of its way to portray that the province is engulfed in an internal conflict. I know during the main questline Jarl Balin's court has a bit of a stir about sending guards to Riverwood because of the war, but then skip to the near end of the questline with season unending, where the game forces you to pick a side if you haven't already, or arrange an armistice when I was like, oh yeah, there was a civil war going on right now. There's only a handful of other NPCs within the game, outside the ones that I mentioned in the previous video, that exposit information relevant to this topic. I think the most egregious fact is that it doesn't really matter which side you choose at the end of the day. Stalin is of the impression that the Thalmor won't be a threat, mostly cause lol Dovahkiin, but that's not really the case here. Exhibit A being the champion of Cyrodiil, the hero from Oblivion who was promised to guide the future of the Empire by the voice of Sean Bean Septim himself. But the main reason shit is so fucked in the first place is because they weren't there to rule because they had to take on the mantle of Shea Gorath in the Shivering Isles DLC. Exhibit B, the immortal Nerevarine, player character of Morrowind, went to the mysterious continent of Akavir for fuckballs knows why, so they really couldn't do anything either. Exhibit C, from the foreshadowing during the Dragonborn DLC, and the fact that the player mantles Mirak's place as Hermaeus Mora's champion, alludes to the fact that the Dragonborn won't be around when the Second Great War happens. The last item is Skyrim's environment. Once again, Bethesda has contradicted what has been established in the lore of the previous games. Cyrodiil, the capital province of the Empire, was described as a vast swampland, but when playing Oblivion, it's mountains and forests. Skyrim is described as a very vastly cold and icy wasteland, with the Reachlands being the only fertile grounds for foods and crops, which is a continuously contested ground. To be fair, I'm happy with this change as I've come to appreciate the various biomes of the setting. Although, the fauna left a lot to be desired. The only interesting things there for me initially were the dragons, giants, and mammoths, but they ultimately waned my interest over time, which is a long-ass time of repeating enemies over and over again. Not to mention the fact of the unique varied enemy types in this game. Well, there's a scattered set of different enemies you can fight, but usually the main factions come down to are Draugr, bandits, and Reachmen. There really isn't much variety or uniqueness to Skyrim's enemy types. Other than that, I thought it was great.
I'm answering seriously. He called me stupid fat bitch. You didn't say hello, you dirty fucking dirty. Well, dirty fucking